Anyway, let me bring in Bill Bowkett. He's a political commentator before I just get completely off on one. Bill, good morning to you.
Very good morning, James.
Thank you very much indeed. This is obesity is not something that you have to deal with. But I do find that the way that it's been politicised and how people, they talk to you as if there's something wrong if you say that you don't want to see a ban on bog-off deals, if you don't want to see a ban on sugar and things. I would take the view, tell people what's there, and then improve education on cooking and food and nutrition, and ultimately, it's your choice, it's my choice, it's our choice, and I'm sick and tired of having people tell me how to live my life.
I can't agree more. All the measures that the nanny states have introduced to try and cut obesity, to make people lose weight, have had no real discernible effect, whether that's a sugar tax on fizzy drinks, whether it's advertisement bans. Sadiq Khan, you know, a big advocate of it in London and on the London Underground, when actually we should be looking, like you rightly said, at education. From personal experience, my mother is a food technology teacher at a secondary school. And when she teaches students about, you know, nutritious diets and getting on 5 a day, so many young people just don't know what to include on their daily diet, and the
basics. And then also, I think it is about then once you're given the tools to do that. And I'm a really big advocate of growing your own if you can. I'm a really big advocate of cooking yourself, and I'm also a big advocate, by the way, of having a takeaway, but not every day of the week, having it as a special treat. I mean, when I was growing up, you know, once over the course of a summer we'd have a takeaway or something, you know, that was a really special treat. We've normalised these things, and I do understand that we need to make better choices and we need to have more information, but banning things doesn't work. Putting tax just makes it worse for people who can't afford it, and for those who can, they'll just go and pay more tax. Thanks. If you want chocolate, have it.
And also just making people feel guilty if they wanted to, you know, pop off and get a McDonald's or go get a portion of fish and chips as well.
I mean, I know that one shouldn't necessarily have a Donald's chat at this time in the morning, but lovely. Anyway, no. See, I don't like those.
Do you not?
No.
What are you into then on the
Donald's
menu?
Well, actually, to be honest, if I was that, I'd probably have. I do quite like their hash brown.
Yeah, it's
but I'm not having any of those. I'm not having any of that. No, we'll have an apple.
Stick to the fruit salads.
Yeah, fruit salad. Except there are some fruits which are worse than others. You see, pineapples, grapes, mangoes, lot of sugar.
Yes.
So apples, much better. And I can't do bananas. The repeat on me.
No.
Anyway, that's another story for another day. Let's do the front pages. Daily Mail. Tories triple tax cut boost. Finally, the message seems to be getting through. How do you respond to this? Why is it that Rishi Sunak seems to be so unwilling to realise that the Conservative Party should be the party of lower tax? They increased tax. They've done the stealth thing, and they've done the stealth thing in two ways. National insurance, one, in my view, get rid. And the second thing that they've done is that they haven't moved people's personal allowances, which means that they don't know that they're being hit. But if inflation goes up significantly and your personal allowance doesn't, you just paid more tax.
The thing is with the government is that the message they've been saying, you know, throughout the cost of living crisis is that we, as a government, as a Treasury, are powerless to stem the pressures caused not only by, you know, from the coronavirus outbreak, but also from the war in Ukraine causing supply issues, the hike in energy prices, and that hopefully the creation of jobs and growth will help, you know, build back Britain from the last 2 years that we've had. But the thing is that Rishi Sunak is just, frankly, the most unconservative chancellor that we have had for many a decade, increasing taxes to the highest level since war Britain.
I understand that you've got to pay the bills, and I understand that you've got to do that in a certain way, but what I would say is that this is a perfect example where you can do that by growing the economy and getting the argument across that you pay off your debts by increasing your income. And you increase your income by encouraging investment, both inward and from existing resource, that by employing people, but also by paying people more and rewarding them for what they do, and also through innovation. and really encouraging people to come up with new ideas. I mean, nobody got rich working for a cotton mill. The people who got rich were the people who invented the technology and the people who owned the cotton mills. In the same way that the people who are really getting rich now are the people who are inventing new things on the internet and in tech, and they're developing new companies and ideas, and then they're getting the initial investment, and then they're taking it to a level that then it gets sold off and moved on. That's how you create wealth as opposed to just earning it. And until or unless we have a chancellor who really gets that and then encourages our nation to do it, we are brilliant in this country at inventing, at coming up with new things. And also pivoting. You know, things change. You know, this whole sort of like plan. You know, Americans are very sort of like plan, and overanalyze. Whereas Brits are like, nah, I'm going to do it this way today. And guess what? Flight of foot, love it. That's what we need. Come on, Rishi.
But the thing is that that's what he advocates. He advocates investments, innovation. I mean, you know, he is a man that came off the back of Silicon Valley. But unfortunately, you know, this is now, inflation as high as it is, interest rates as high as it is, and that the government are under, immense pressure to actually come up with hard, you know...
I've come up with more plans you can shake a stick at that are better than all of their ideas put together. I mean, I'd just throw that out there. Rishi, if you're listening, I've given you my ideas. Contact me privately. I'll happily tell you what I think you should do. And you can take the credit. The Times hopes for a windfall tax blocked by Number 10. Also, on the front page of the Times, you could be forgiven thinking that Boris Johnson is on there. It's not Boris Johnson, it's Sir Kenneth Branagh playing Boris Johnson. How can they make a drama about COVID and the Prime Minister's dealing of it before the official report comes out that seems to be forever in the wings?
And also, apparently, it's not going to cover Partygate or the aftermath of Partygate.
Good, because we're all bored by it. Nobody cares.
I don't know what interest, but I think the thing about this is just how old Boris Johnson or Kenneth Branagh looks in it. The makeup department have really done him bad in this one. If anyone, you know, is listening on radio, it genuinely looks like what a caricature, you know, from a newspaper would look like a Boris Johnson.
The great thing about
really
Boris
bad.
is, well, yeah, I don't know. Well, I think the good thing about Boris is that he's the one politician that you can do. I mean, if somebody said to me, do an impersonation of Starmer, I don't think, I just go, it's a bit nasal. Boris Johnson, blah, blah, blah. And then there you have it, and everybody knows who you're talking about.
Politicos are going to love it.
They are going to love it.
You know, the Westminster elite will definitely be tuning in.
Bog-off Jamie says the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Michael Deacon on banning cheap food deals, but also Putin turns screw on global food supplies. That is going to be a big story in terms of, you know, the healthy stuff, if you like, is probably going to go up in price further. Cabinet office stuff with 700 HR jobs. What a surprise. It's like this continual discussion I have, which is, look, just because people say we need more money, perhaps just spend what you've got a little more effectively might be better. Meanwhile, under fire, Becky will move to US, Vardy's to flee the UK, says the Sun newspaper. Good riddance, I say. The Guardian, police chief warns of surging crime as cost of living crisis fuels poverty, they say. The Eye focuses on MP's block inquiry into alleged rapists working in Parliament. Quite concerning there. The Daily Star, weapon of mass destruction. Boffin saying the word mass is too scary. An ex-England Bank of England economist says we shouldn't use the word mass. I mean, what an idiot. It is unbelievable. Unglaublich, as the Germans would say. Daily Mirror, the great inflation swindle, they say. Cost of living going up, but pensions aren't. Daily Express, it's impossible. Pensioners can't cope with 9% inflation. I think they've got a very good point there. Meanwhile, to the Metro, inflation hits home, and also Financial Times, Sunak warns of tough times ahead as inflation hits 40-year high of 9%. Look, we'll come to the stories that Bill has picked out in just a few moments' time. Meanwhile, you are watching and listening to Talk TV. £19:06. Good morning. It's me, James Max, with you till 6:30 when Julia Hartley-Brett will be here this Thursday morning. Going through the papers with Bill Bowkett. He's a political commentator. So, Bill, to the stories that you've picked out for us. Let's start with some dinosaurs. They are written up in today's Mail.
Yes, so this is a story about how the R&T union are plotting to sabotage the Queen's Jubilee by doing a 24-hour, another London Underground walkout, and they will target the stations closest or targeting stations close to Buckingham Palace, particularly Green Park and Euston, but also the Central Line, the Jubilee Line, and also the Victoria Lines. And there's disputes been going on mainly because of what the individuals say or workers of years of intimidation, bullying, and then justify sackings by a manager.
I mean, I think there is a point here, and the point is, if TfL are not managing their people properly, and if you are an individual who works for a company where bullying is not taken seriously and then action is not taken, then there is a little bit of me that has sympathy to say that does need to be tackled. You cannot have an organisation, particularly but any organisation, you can't have it where that kind of culture exists. That having been said, I am deeply cynical about what the RMT is doing, and their timing, I think, is really unnecessary and unpleasant.
And why do we have to suffer as travellers? And also, a lot of the disputes been around pay, even though an average tube driver earns over like £55,000 a year, which is significantly more than the average wage in the UK, and they have flexible work hours as well. I mean, there's been so many walkouts that, I can't even recount, but if this is going to happen, then I'm sure that chaos is going to ensue for Her Majesty's celebrations.
I think so, and let's just hope that they get this resolved. Meanwhile, quite interesting, Nick has been in touch and says, Sunak thinks that wealth is made by marrying it. Excellent work. Thank you very much indeed, Nick, for that. That's a good one from you. Well done. Well done, Nicholas. Now, just before we get to the iNewspaper, I'm going to pick out a story because, well, I just feel like it. Because today, I want to congratulate Andrew Pearce. He said what I've been saying for a while on this programme. Why does the BBC never tell you that its favourite cost of living expert is a Labour darling? Because I happened to be listening yesterday, and if somebody has a political leaning and their organisation has political leanings, then I just want to have it announced. I don't mind. I don't have a problem with an individual being there, but it strikes me as absolutely... So, Torsten Bell, who's the chief executive of the Resolution Foundation, which is a charitable think tank, but they are very, in my view, politically motivated, and also this is the guy who came up with the Edstone, probably banning him from politics forever. That having been said, I think if you have a political think tank, in the same way that, you're involved with Young Voices, I think we all know where their political leanings lie. It's important that people understand. It's not that your views or your thoughts are, would I invite Torsten Bell? Other than the fact that I think he says it's too early and he can't be bothered to wake up. Would I invite him onto the show? Yeah, absolutely I would. But I would always say, this is an organisation. Is Andrew Pearce right to call this out?
I think with Torsten himself, I think he's a very respected name. I mean, I remember seeing him do a couple of panels at Labour Party conference. But the thing with the Resolution Foundation, as I often read his little snippets that he writes on The Observer on a Sunday, is just a lot of the measures that he wants to introduce to kind of mitigate the cost of living crisis will just result in more state spending, increased debt, and it will damage Britain in the long term. And like he said, this is a man who was advising Ed Miliband when he was Labour leader, and look how that turned out in the 2015 general election, and convincing people that Labour...
Maybe just leave him to it and just let him carry on.
to lead the economy.
The front page of the Daily Mirror, by the way, does say Jubilee fever. Have you got Jubilee fever? Are you excited about it?
Oh, yeah. The problem is that I'm actually going to be on holiday at the same time because...
what, abroad?
Yes, I'm going to be in Spain, but hopefully we're going to be doing lots of celebration.
Bunting.
However, actually saying that, I come back on the Saturday the 4th or 5th.
Oh, that's all right.
So I'll be here on the Sunday, and I think I'll be going back to my village, and I think they're doing a little street celebration.
Oh, I'm sure they will do.
That would be very nice and exciting.
I think it will be. Now, let's turn our attention to the iNewspaper. Banks and ATMs.
Yes, so as part of the forthcoming Financial Services and Markets Bill, the Financial Conduct Authorities can have more power to keep... ATMs in villages and towns to still be there, even if the bank branches close down. I think this is
cash machines holding them all that stuff.
I think this is such an important step taken by the government. It's clearly received universal support from the likes of the Post Office and also the Scottish Government as well, because millions of people across the UK are still, relying cash, particularly vulnerable groups, and make sure that, you know, cash is accessible. And actually, many people take out cash so that they can manage their spending better to know how much they've got in their pocket.
Are you the sort of youth who doesn't carry cash, or are you the sort of youth who loves a bit of cash?
No, I love a bit of cash.
I mean, I've referred to you as a youth. I mean, you know, you've got a proper job and everything. It's only because I've never been this old, and it's all relative.
Yeah, so I mean, while most things are contactless nowadays, I mean, some places you might have to, you know, spend at least £2 at a shop in order to, you know, reach the threshold to use a card machine.
So
but
it's
important to have a little bit of cash with you.
OK, let's talk about the Telegraph. They're talking about Met Office and the Met Office heatwave advice, which apparently is simplistic.
So this is David Davis, a Tory MP, senior Tory MP, who's criticised the Met Office for its simplistic approach in basically just telling the British public what to do when, you know, a little bit of sun comes out, or, you know, if it gets a little bit chilly or a little bit windy.
I wish they'd just get the weather advice right, because the amount of times that they sort of forecast that something's going to happen and then it doesn't. I mean, I guess, look, forecasting is a very difficult subject, and it's actually, you know, it's an art, not a science, so they're not always going to get it right. But do you think then sometimes with these things that they're just a little bit, you know, they're just a little bit sort of nanny in her state?
Of course they are. And as David Davis rightly says here, is that the British public have more common sense than they think, and he actually encourages people to be outside as often as can, because we do live in Britain at the end of the day. Actually, a point that isn't raised in this article, but I think is worth noting, is that there's a vitamin D deficiency among the British public at the moment, and actually
we've all been indoors, so get out.
Exactly, get out, get some sunshine, get a tan, but you know, people know when it gets a little bit hot to put sun cream on, to wear a hat, because it's when they're exercising.
See, this is not a problem you suffer from, but I always used to have a full head of hair, and there's a little bit of a shall we say, receding and baldness, and sort of you know, slap head on, and I forget sometimes to put it on the very top part, which I need to, because you got to put the sun cream on. Got to make sure that you're careful. Now, just finally, and very briefly, let's talk about the Daily Star. You found something in there, apparently.
Well, it's yesterday's match.
Oh,
the
is
Europa
it football?
League. Yeah, Europa League final.
Do you like football?
Love football.
Do you?
Love football. I know, of course.
I don't care.
Talk Sport is just down the corner.
It is.
But I think it's worth mentioning because it's a British side. They're in a major European Cup final. You know, Rangers especially. You know, Scottish side. Heartbreak. You know, in Spain when it came, or pain in Spain, as you wittingly said earlier, losing on penalties, and I think that I could kind of tell that Rangers were going to lose that fixture, plainly because they just weren't ready for the shootout.
Okay.
Scrabbling, getting the notes ready.
Scrabbling to get those things ready. Well, thank you very much indeed for that, Bill, and indeed for going through the papers. It's much appreciated. If people want to find out more from you, where do they go?
Do subscribe to Reaction, www.reaction.life, and also follow Young Voices UK for our young talent.
There you go. Thank you very much indeed, Bill Bowkett, political commentator. Thank you for joining us and going through the papers. Much appreciated.